So I was diagnosed with acute lymphoblastic leukemia, ALL, back in 1999 when I was 4 years old. I was an inpatient from the ages of about 4 to 6, so kind of going into the early 2000s. I was treated at Lucille Packard Children's Hospital at Stanford, and then I was declared in full remission at about the age of 10. So between 6 and 10, I was an outpatient receiving lots of different treatments, but ultimately, was able to call myself a survivor when I was about 10 years old. And now I'm almost 30, so it's been about 20 years since my survivorship journey has really started.
Can you tell me, if you're open to it, any memories you have of being inpatient?
Yeah. My gosh, I have a lot of memories. I think the credit really goes to my parents, my caregivers, and my care team for actually making it kind of as positive of an experience as it could be a young inpatient in a hospital. I remember I had an IV pole that was on wheels that I would stand on and skateboard around the hospital, using it as my little skateboard. We would decorate the windows of my room with, removable paint or all kinds of different arts and crafts, lots of movie marathons in the room. And, the story that I think illustrates this the most is the day that I was discharged when I was 6 years old. My parents are celebrating. They're so happy. They're like, thank goodness we're getting out of here. And apparently, the story goes, I walked out of the door of Lucille Packard and kind of turned around and said wistfully, man, I'm going to miss this place. Which my parents were like, what the heck? How could you possibly miss this place, where you were going through such intensive treatment? But, it really speaks to the fact that as much as possible, they did their best to make it, a normal childhood.
How did
Yeah.
it change your friendship?
Yeah, it's a great question. And again, I was so little that memories are a little bit fuzzy, but I remember having to be really just open with kids. I was discharged at around 6, but, right around that kindergarten age, like 5, 6, I started to be able to attend some school in person. And we had to really notify the whole school and all the other kindergartners and their parents of protocols for, if you're sick, you need to stay home or tell Cecilia and kind of what's going on. And, I just remember wanting to fit in as much as possible, but having this very obvious difference between me and other kids. And then as I kind of got older and, moved away from it, grew away from it, I didn't really talk about it for a very, very long time. But, I do wonder looking back if there were impacts of being taken out of that system at such a young age. Again, I was lucky. I was relatively low risk patient. I, didn't have any recurrences or anything like that. But I was still missing school and, not on the same page as other kids. So I'm sure it did affect it to some extent. But again, I was kind of out right around that edge when kids really pick up into kindergarten. So luckily, I wasn't like delayed in school or anything like that.
Thank you for watching the Patient from Hell podcast. I started this because I wish I had something like this when I was going through cancer treatment. On this show, you will find videos and stories from real patients, real survivors, clinicians, researchers, oncologists who share their learnings, life lessons, tips, and tricks to hopefully make the cancer experience just a little easier. To find more videos and stories, you can subscribe or share this with someone you think this will help. Thank you.